Hi guys, thanks for getting on. As Andrew just talked about in the previous section, Alondra is one of the agents. So Alondra Crenshaw, I did not screw it up, formerly Topete, but Alondra Crenshaw is an integrity partner, and I was the youngest integrity partner until Alondra became an integrity partner. Just like I was the youngest person to Hall of Fame until Alondra was the youngest person to Hall of Fame. So every record that I thought I had set, Alondra has come along and broken, which is pretty cool. But she was one of the people that had that Andrew and the ILC team had asked to beta test the mortgage protection leads on ILC. So I asked her if she could get on and kind of give some feedback, because she wrote $40,000 back-to-back months and obviously manages a massive business. As she's an integrity partner, so she has a good system for what she's doing on the recruiting side, but also able to have time to still sell. So, Alondra, if you want to give any quick background just on yourself, you certainly can, but I'd love to dive into what you're doing to have success with those leads right away.
Yeah. So guys, I'm 25 years old. I've been with Family First Life for about 5 years now. Guys, like I came in, I did not come out the gate swinging like a lot of people do. I had a very slow start. I think until I was 9 months in until I had my first 20 families a month protected. So if you're there, don't give up. The best thing I can give you is just kind of stick around long enough until it kind of just hits and it clicks. And that's exactly what happened to us. I remember my first convention, I saw all these people hitting Hall of Fame, and I'm like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. Like, they're just working harder than me, right? They're buying leads much more than I am. They're booking way more appointments, so they're getting more shots on target. So that's kind of what I took away from going to the conferences and just seeing people and what they were doing. Kind of made it more real for me. And kind of fast forward to where we're at now, I was really just managing agents, and with everybody going telesale, it kind of just made me, I had never really done it. I hit Hall of Fame just in the field. So honestly, I was very intimidated to get on the phones because I had never done it before. And I was just like, hey, I'm just going to get out of my head and do it. Cause I think I really wanted to help agents that were coming on. It's like, hey, I want to understand and be able to help you through the sales process, the difficulties that come from just selling over the phone. Because I was aware that there were different challenges than over the phone. Obviously, in-home is going to be 10 times easier. It's very forgiving. Over the phone, you do really have to make sure that you set the table, set the expectations with your clients, and really build that rapport that they trust you enough to be able to do an application. So quickly, I remember I reached out to Andrew and I'm like, dude, I'm going to start selling. He's like, okay, I got these leads, you can try them out, pilot them. So they're honestly, I don't like to say that I have a very a favorite lead, but I do think these leads have they're solid. I was paying $90 a lead for a mortgage lead, and this was a third of the price, right? It's $30, I believe, or 27. It just depends. So that to me was already a win. I'm getting 3 for what I was getting 1. And the really cool thing about it is people are answering. And people, if it's a mortgage lead, so that they're working, they had to qualify to get a loan, so they have money. So you're not going to really deal with the direct express cards. Your biggest issue is just that they're at work. So probably you're either going to be catching them. I'll do a lot of later appointments in the day or big time on the weekends. And
well, $28 a lead is people will pay that much for a Facebook final expense lead now too, right? So I think this is a cool thing to be able to mix in to where you have a mortgage protection lead that's the same price as a normal Facebook final expense lead, right?
Yeah. People were doing live transfers. I'm like, I would never, it's so much money. This just is so much better than doing that.
Yeah, because you have so many more at bats, right? And that's where I think a lot of people look at how many leads they're getting, and it's more how much are you spending total on leads, right? And for me, we talked about this just previously with Andrew, but my goal was always to be minimally spending $1,500 a week on leads. And I think if you're spending less than that, and I was half jokingly texting with a manager this morning who was asking well, this guy sells twice what I sell. Actually, he sells 3/4 of what the other guy sells. But I'm like, dude, you're actually better at selling. He just buys twice as many leads, And he was like, well, maybe next week I'll buy more leads. I'm like, do whatever you want, but you're going to be stuck in this hamster. At some point, you're going to have to spend more money on leads. And you can wait, you can push it off till it's more convenient next week, but you kind of sound like one of our final expense clients, right? So So the mortgage, they obviously know it's from mortgage protection. What does it look like? I guess, are you dialing them yourself? Do you have a dialer? And if you have a dialer, how do they get them into your schedule? And then what does the, presentation process look like?
Yeah. So I kind of tried both. When I first started, I was just like, let me just call to close these leads. And it worked. Like, I mean, I had clients that were either right away they were available with their spouse, or I was just
Mhm.
booking them later in the day, and I closed both ways. Where I was like with my time management, I'm like, you know what? I don't have enough time to like be able to be there for my agents and also for the clients. So let me go look and hire a dialer. Sorry, guys, I'm sick. So
We
I
appreciate you getting on, even though you're sick. So
no, of
thank you.
course. So I got in touch with the dialers, and like they have this whole system. So it's like they train them on calls and stuff. So I didn't really have to go through skips. Like it was pretty cool. And then I just told them, hey, I want you to dial 40 hours because I want a full schedule. Like I want at least 8 to 10 appointments a day. And I literally just shared my calendar, so they have calendar access. And then their sole job is just to book appointments. So I'm in the West Coast, so they'll start dialing. If I'm working leads in the East Coast, they'll start dialing at 5 a.m. So I'm literally waking up and I'm just seeing like all these appointments start coming in and it's ready to go. Like I'm at the gym and I'm like, okay, cool, I got another appointment. Like right when I get home, I start at 8 a.m. My first appointment's at 8. So I go on until kind of just depends, like from 8 to 6, 7. Sometimes I'll even do 8 if I'm running any in Hawaii. So
Are
it's
they
been
mostly
great.
booking them same day?
Yeah. So a
Okay.
lot of them are same day. Max is pushing them the next day, but it's mainly the same day. And they're getting confirmation. He'll give them who their name of the underwriter is. He'll give them my number and he'll give them my state license. So when I'm calling them, they're already expecting my call. He's texting them confirmations. So I'm literally just getting on the phone with them as soon as my time is until my appointment time with them.
Yeah, and I think I feel like we always used to like hide that people use dialers and stuff, but I think it's something like once you learn how to dial yourself and then you can teach someone how to do it, then you can outsource certain things that you don't need to be doing, right? And it's the same thing. Like I learned that early in business. I was like, oh, like I hired Jordan, my admin. Jordan's been with me for like almost 6 years, and I've been here 6 years. Like she started 4 months after I started. The first month I wrote 30 policies in a month. I hired her because I was like, there's certain things she can do for me that my money, I can make $1,000 an hour if I'm working. Theoretically, this is the math equated in my head. I can theoretically make $1,000 an hour. So if I even if I paid her $100 an hour, which I don't, but if I paid her $100 an hour, I would still net $900 an hour, right? And so I think you're like, I have to do stuff for integrity. I have to manage my business. I have to recruit agents, but I still want to sell so that I can try out new leads and teach our agents, how to sell, right? And so what is so I think what you're doing is it's smart because you're able to outsource time, but it's also like you said, you dialed them yourself in the beginning to get a feel for the leads before you outsource to someone else, right?
Yeah,
Which is
100%.
just like you're not asking your agents to do anything you wouldn't do. You're like, no, I dialed them myself, but then I outsourced it once I knew they worked.
Yep. Yep. And
So what
just
is the go ahead.
I was just gonna say no, and even like, and I was nervous, Zach. Like I was just like, okay. And even knowing that, I still bought more leads because that's another advantage. Like the difference between like a dialer is I knew that they weren't gonna get to work them probably as much as I am. Like they're probably not gonna book as much as appointments as I am. But I was okay with that because I was like I said, I need to buy time. Like I don't have time to focus all my attention on my appointments, but I can have them really work them. They don't answer, he can text them. And that was just kind of my philosophy. So to make up for that, I would buy more leads than I normally would for myself to make sure that they had enough leads to be able to book me a full schedule. So that way he's got enough to work with and I'm getting my desired appointment counts per day.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does the actual appointment look like for those leads when, I guess, well, first thing is what percentage show up from the appointments that are booked? Is it about half-ish?
Yeah, I would say about half. I get to at least talk
Okay.
to at least half that I have per day.
And then from the half, how many do you expect to close so say you have 10 appointments and you get 5 of them on the phone, how many of those are you looking to close?
I would say about 3 if
Okay.
I get on the phone. Mhm.
So what does that conversation look like from when you get them on the phone, kind of to set the table the right way? And I think it's very similar to the in-home sales process. for a lot of people, especially if they've done it, where they set good structure in the appointments. But what does that look like to go from, they pick up the phone all the way through to the close for you?
So I was actually freaking out, Zach, because I was like, I need a script. Like, I need to find one. Like, what is everybody using for telesales? And honestly, using a script almost messed me up because I'm focusing on like trying to follow along. And it just wasn't my in-home presentation. So I was just like, get out of your head and just treat these people like if they're right in front of you. Obviously, they're not in front of you. So you really have to do a good job of building that credibility. So first thing, once we answer, ring, ring, Zach. Hey, Zach,
Yep.
this is Alondra with the mortgage protection. I'm going to be the underwriter helping you out today. Before we move forward, I do need to make sure that you have my license and credentials. So is this a good number to receive text messages? Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and send you over my license and credentials. This is so you have my information. You know who I am. The state requires me to send this to you so you can look me up with the Department of Insurance and you're able to see all my state licenses and all my credentials on there. Okay. Perfect. That's the first thing I do to kind of like establish my credibility and they know who I am. Now, Zach, we filled out the mortgage protection. You listed here you had a co-borrower or spouse. What was your spouse's name?
Deborah.
Okay. Is Deborah there with you?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Deborah, this is Alondra. So I'm going to be helping you guys out with the mortgage protection. So the way this works is very, very simple. My job is just to ask you guys a couple questions. We're going to go over some medical questions, some financial questions, and then I'm going to put some plans together. I'm going to put it into the computer and it'll show me the different plans. Now, the benefit of working with me is I'm a state underwriter. So I work with over 25 of our top A-rated companies. I like to tell everyone I'm kind of like the Expedia of insurance, okay? My job's to find you guys a plan that's going to make sense for you both, that if you don't come home tomorrow, there's a plan set up for both you and Deborah. And it's make sure that it fits in your budget and it's going to take care of your needs. Does that sound fair?
Yep.
Okay. Now, Zach, I don't have the ability to approve you. If not, I would approve all my clients. But what we can do is find a plan that you understand that's going to fit your budget and submit an application. Now, what the insurance companies are going to do is you're going to be able to give us that decision right away whenever we submit it. Sometimes it's right away. A lot of the times it can take 1 to 2 days to kind of get a response back. They'll be able to tell us if you're approved today or if we need to go find a different company to apply for. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. I've already let them know what we're going to do and what I'm going to ask for. And then I'm letting them know that we're going to do an application and they can't even make a decision today, even if they wanted to, because I'm just setting them the expectations of we're going to be going kind of through this. And then at the beginning, I like to ask them, Zach, like before I start asking them questions, I recently added this and it's helped tremendously because it sets not having to deal with these later. So I'll ask them, are you familiar with the difference between mortgage protection, life insurance, and private mortgage insurance?
And most people say no, right?
Most of them will say no, or they'll say yeah. Regardless, whatever they say, I'm still going to tell them my spiel. I'm gonna say, okay, great. Life insurance, you kind of have to kick the bucket in order to receive any sort of income from the insurance companies. Private mortgage insurance, a lot of people think that protects some family. Unfortunately, that's the one that the bank makes you get, that if something happens to you, the loan is protected, so they're fine, but they're still going to turn around to your family and be like, hey, you're still responsible for the remaining of the loan. That's where mortgage protection is going to come in. It works the same as kind of life insurance. If you kick the bucket, they're going to be able to give that death benefit to your beneficiary. Now, I say beneficiary because, as you know, mortgage companies will sell off their loan. So that's why we never make it go directly to the mortgage company. It's always your beneficiary that's going to be taking care of it. And a lot of the times, not only if you pass away, but depending on your health and what's on your medical records, you can be approved for riders that are going to help you. So if you were to become sick, disabled, have heart attack, stroke, cancer, anything like that pops up on your medical record, you can get approved. So not only will it protect you if you pass away, but if any of those major illnesses take place, you could actually also be protected for that. When I take that extra step to explain that, I'm already knocking off any objections of them telling me I already have this, thinking that the private mortgage insurance that they're paying for is that. I'm already building the credibility of what makes the difference between life insurance. So if they tell me that they have life insurance, it's like, I don't care. This is mortgage protection. Like, this is going to protect you if you become sick. That extra steps got me, like, I sell very big time. Like, as long as their health is fine, I'm selling a lot of the living benefits with Americo. Like, that's my number one carrier. The HMS 100, like if you don't want to sell the accidental, the HMS 125, I mean, it's great. Clients love it. And you get that instant approval. And it's like the easiest app that I've ever done. So I'm writing a
Yeah,
lot
that's
of America.
and what you said too there is with every type of insurance we sell is it's useful to ask that question, right? Like when I was helping our team get IUL leads for a while, so I sold them for a little bit. And I asked everyone, I'd be like, Alondra, everyone's online is talking about getting an IUL. Do you understand how they work, or would you like me to kind of give you the spiel? And then same thing, they'd go, no, I kind of get it. I've seen a bunch of videos. I'd be like, oh, cool. Well, what do you know about it? And then you can correct it, right? Same thing like final expense insurance. Like, hey, Alondra, do you know how final expense insurance works? A lot of people go, oh yeah, like that's the one where you have to wait 2 years to after you get it to pay out. And you can go, no, a lot of our plans, if you qualify, you can get instant approval, right? And you can get instant payout to your family if you die within the first 2 years. So I think it's important to always ask that question and level set with people, and it gives you a really easy, pressure-free way to give them your elevator pitch on the type of insurance that you're positioning, right? So I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's awesome.
And then I just literally go through, Zach, and I asked everything on the insurance. Even if, like, let's say Deb didn't work, like I'd still ask, like, how much money does she, even though I know her occupation to stay at home, any income coming in for her? Because all I'm doing in the financial inventory, like that's where I'm building the report. I'm asking questions that are relative to the situation. So I'm asking them, okay, Zach, if you don't come home tomorrow, how much of your income is going to go to a Deb? Okay, how is Deborah going to be able to qualify for the home? Does she have any other income coming in? Like I'm asking them questions like on the financial inventory because I want them to paint a picture of their head because they've probably never thought about it. Like they've never really gone through of like what's going to happen. So when I'm asking them I'm asking them in that way, it's guaranteeing like it's building up that emotion. So it's like whenever I go down to the options, it's not going to be of like, it's a matter of which one do I want, not if I'm going to get this. It's okay. I will, let's start off with this one.
Right. So when you get
Yeah.
to the end, it's really just you're kind of taking order with them now. And I assume like once you make it through the presentation, you don't have many. If you show numbers, you don't have many people that are not going to buy, right? It's usually before that where they're like, "Oh, I thought this was something different. Like I'm good," and they bounce, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
it really is. The only thing I will say, Zach, and like I had a time with this in the beginning because I am like not a hard closer, but it's like I don't want to come back to the client. Like I don't do really well with I need to think
yeah,
about it, call me back. And that's one thing that I learned. Like there are going to be some people that just like they won't, even if you have both of them. Like I've had people that it's like we go through it, this makes sense. They just like, I need to just digest this. And before, like I do what I do in the home, like, well, at the home, it's very easy. You're like, well, I can't come back. They don't pay me to come back. Like I can only do this once. I can't leave you my business card. You're not a client. With over the phone, it's like you have them on the phone. So it's like they can call you back. Like this is your number.
yeah,
So I can call you back. So that was just kind of like one of the things where I pushed too hard on one and I kind of upset a guy. So I've learned to really just like, you can only give so much, but at the end of the day, you kind of still are on their time. Like at the end, if they can't make a decision, it's like, okay, hey, no worries. Like I can leave your application open for the next, 24 to 48 hours. Let's get you booked back into my calendar. So that's what I've done. If I don't close them after we've gone through a whole presentation, is I'll get them booked again. If I feel like they're really serious about this, and I'll ask them like, is this important to you? Like, does this make sense? Like, yeah, 100%. We just need time to like think about this. Like tomorrow, call me and we'll get it done. I'll tell you which one we want.
yeah. And then you mentioned the beginning too, like you asked if Deborah was there, right? So I assume if they say no, you might go through a little bit of the appointment, but we'll follow back up. Like you might build a little bit of rapport and then go like, let me know when she's going to be there, and we'll follow back up. But you don't go all the way to the end, right?
No,
So it's
and I
okay to
thought I could
reschedule.
be sneaky and do it. I'm like, oh, it's fine. Like it's still the same. Like let me try. Because at home, obviously, if you go to an in-home, you're not going to run the appointment if they're not there. So
Yeah,
with this, I'm like, I started again. Like at the very beginning, I did a one leg, and I was still getting the same objection. Like I need to still confirm with the wife, even though they're the decision maker. Like they still need to understand this both. So I was like, okay, I can't expect somebody that just heard me for about an hour well, like 20 minutes that I gave him my spiel, I can't expect that he's going to relay the same message. And it's just not going to be the same. Whether is if you have both of them. So now if you would have told me I don't have Deb there, I'm like, hey, I'm legally not even allowed to go over this information. Like I need you both present. So what time works best for you both so we can go over this and knock it out really quick. Cause yeah, I
yeah,
won't do it. And that's part of the reason, Zach, when I don't get through like all my 8 appointments is I do get some one leg still. Like I will get some like, oh, my wife's not available. And I'm like, okay, I got to get you moved because I do need to have both of you there.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Well, Alondra, I appreciate it. I love that you're out there selling again. And when I went and sold again, I think I told you, I'm like, I missed it and it was fun for me and it was really helpful, just to make sure that, you know, that I was still being able to relate to new agents. And I think you're doing the same thing. And I appreciate you as a leader. And I know you're going to keep, every time I set any kind of record, I know you're going to break it. So I appreciate you and I love being in business with you. Thanks for everything you do for the team.
No, thanks. Thank you for having me on in any way I can do to help. I'm always count on me.